sales girl, I realized how important financial services was. I quickly realized that because obviously I was working with my own money, working with other people's money, and so I fell in love with money. And I realized that a lot of people out here on the streets have no clue how to manage money or how to spend it, what they do with it when they get it. And that started quickly playing in my head. And I was so good at the numbers, I was so good at managing money until I realized that I could take it as a career. Wow. I started reading a lot of financial literatures. As soon as I was able to go back to school, I did. Okay. As soon as I was able to straighten myself out and go to school legally, I did that, and I went straight into financial services. Then I went into life insurance, then I went into real estate. I always was attracted to money. Okay. And then it dawned on me that it's very important because they don't teach it in schools at all. Most of what I learned is self-taught. I just teach myself most of what I know right now. I didn't really learn in school, even though I went to the best schools.
Wow. So what would you say a lesson in your journey, if you were to tell our audience, what would that main lesson be as you transitioned from a situation that almost seemed as if there was no hope, then there was a little light at the end of the tunnel, right? You started selling things. I mean, that also takes creativity. Just you were able to make something out of nothing, right? And then from that process, you took it into going back to school, right? So let's talk to our audience about that. There's a process to this, right? So today people see Josette Hill, the CEO, CFO of JAH Financial Services and Real Estate. But what they don't realize is there's a process to it, right? You didn't get there overnight. You started with selling, right? So you got your feet wet, right? But I dare say in that process, you learned people.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, people.
You learned people, and you started to learn what they needed, right?
Absolutely.
So how sometimes we get to learn what our customers need is by servicing them, getting out there. So as you were selling things you were buying from New York, you were meeting people, different people.
Yes.
And that's where the idea, wait, people aren't really good with managing money. People aren't really good with...
Right, I get to learn that very quickly, that people really don't understand it at all. And even when I started selling life insurance and I started going into homes and just talking to people about what they have and what they should have or what they need, I realized that people really literally does not understand money, does not
literacy on it.
No literacy on it, because we're literally not taught how to do this. I'm not sure why these things are not in schools, but people literally does not know what to do with their paycheck when they get it. They don't know where it should all be distributed to, because they don't understand retirement, they don't understand protection, they don't understand in transferring generational wealth, they don't understand how to start their own business because they're taught just to go to school and get a good job. So they don't understand how to do any of that, and I learned that just from talking to people, because even though I was trying to get a job, I didn't have a job because I couldn't get a job. So I was forced to really literally create my own business until I was able to get a job, right? So I turned that situation into a dream. And what one thing I wanted to say too, when you have a dream and a desire, nothing stops you. Whether you have a good education or not, whether you have the resources or not, you go because you have a desire for more. You have this hunger for what you want. So when you have this hunger, then nothing stops you. You don't see walls. You climb over walls. You break through walls. You shatter boxes because you have a desire to do something. And I think that desire really propelled me and pushed me. And even when things seems hard, like this is not working, I never stop. I never stop pushing. I never stop moving. And I think that's one of the things that keeps a lot of us back, is because when we're doing it, and we're not seeing it happening at the same time, we think, oh, I can't do this. And then we stop. But when you have a dream, you never stop. You never stop moving. You keep moving towards the sun.
Right. So Josette, your story is so empowering. It's so inspiring. When exactly did you decide to make what you do into a business? Tell us that story.
So I was doing my business part-time, and I was working a full-time job in the hospital because I went back to school, and I also decided to go into nursing. Okay. So I was working a full-time job at the hospital, and my husband was also working a full-time job. I was going to school, and I was running a business. So it was we never spent time with each other. I'm always busy. And my husband kept on saying, you know, I don't think you're gonna be able to take your business to the next level if you keep a full-time job. I really think you should consider just quitting your job and focusing on your business full-time. And I was like, oh, did he just say I should quit my job? We pay the bills together. How am I going to do this? How am I going to quit my job? But one thing, God has really blessed me with a supportive husband. Now we run the business together. He's my director and soulmate. And it's wonderful working with your husband. And it's wonderful working with someone who truly supports your dream, because that's very rare, and I think it's very important. So I took his advice, and I decided, you know what, one of us need to keep our full-time job just in case. There we go, holding on to this so-called security. But I did quit my job and started focusing on my business full-time, and I started out of my living room. So I was just in my living room doing my job, my work. I was taking clients in my living room, and one night we had 6 people at 11 p.m. in my living room doing their taxes, and I was like, nope, this is not working out. There's just no way I can continue my business from my living room. I've outgrown my living room. And one day I had to call 2 friends over to come and help me working from my living room, because there was people everywhere. Wow. People was outside my front door waiting to come in. I was like, oh, I have clients. We can't, there's too much people in here, and this is at home. And we were like, nope, this is not working out. So my husband decided to quit his job also and help me. So he quit his job, I quit my job, and we both worked on the business full time. And we decided that we got to take it out of the living room and take it out on Main Street. Yes. Wow. And so here we are, and we're quickly gonna outgrow the space that we already have here on Park Street. But it's a blessing. We're doing something good here, and that's the reason why there are crowds lining up on my door. There were cars everywhere. That my neighbors must be wondering if I'm always having a party, because there were always so many cars in my driveway. So we realized that very quickly that we would have to take this business out of the living room and take it onto the Main Street.
Wow. So, your story is so inspiring. It really motivates to take action. But I love the part with your husband, how he's been one of your biggest cheerleaders, your support system. But someone who, there's something called the power of acknowledgement. When someone acknowledges your dream, it just makes you even drive further. It makes you go, be consistent, be persistent. So that's what, your husband has been able to do for you. But I thought about something. I'm like, people have the opposite problem, or is it opportunity, I would say, that you've had, where you outgrew what you started, and now you're expanding. So I want to touch on that just a little bit. You know, I get, as a business coach, as a consultant, a lot of clients say, Vanessa, I want to scale my business. And honestly, my feedback has always been, you scale when you know there's demand there, right? And so you had a different problem or opportunity than others where it's either shrinking or downsizing. You've actually, in this pandemic, right?
Absolutely.
You were able to scale a business through a pandemic.
Yes.
But I believe you were able to do that because of your value proposition.
Absolutely.
The value proposition that you have at JAH Financial Services and Real Estate from day one.
Yes.
Your mission never changed.
Exactly.
Your services have
evolved,
increased, right? And expanded. But your value proposition has never changed to help people.
Exactly.
So even in the pandemic, guess what happened to you?
I grew.
You grew even more.
Even more.
That's when people needed that
Absolutely.
service even more.
And what happened in the pandemic, what I was doing was helping people navigate the pandemic.
Wow.
And that's why they lined up at my door, because people were struggling left, right, and center. People were losing their jobs. People had to stay home. People were losing loved ones. People were in pain. The pandemic created a lot of pain. And what I was doing was bringing hope. I even do free seminars for the SBA, teaching people how to obtain the PPP loans,
Yes,
how to do the forgiveness process so these government loans can go away.
Yeah.
I was teaching people just from the heart how to weather the pandemic and stay afloat in the pandemic. And so they were lining up at my doors to learn how to get through the pandemic. And that's how I was able to scale my business even in the midst of a pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that not only did you turn something that others would have seen as a hopeless situation into something of success, you then made it bigger than you, which is what I love. You made it was no longer centered around you, you know, and I think that probably helped you even go further because you transitioned from that place of, I have kids to take care of. I have myself to take care of. I need to work. I need to earn. But then you fastly started to understand the needs of others, right? And that propelled you. And that's fantastic because one of our core objectives that meant for her is to close the social economic wealth gap for women and girls. And what Josette does at JAH Financial Services and Real Estate really fits right into that in terms of financial literacy, you know, helping people understand how to get money, what to do with it, you know, the how, the who, the what, the where, the when. And then beyond that, how to make that beyond themselves. Because you talked about retirement, right? Life insurance. And one thing I want to ask you, because when you started to talk about social economic wealth gap, one of the biggest reasons I believe, and statistics proves it, why there's such a wide gap for women, girls, and minorities, it's not generational, right? There's a big divide in that sense where there wasn't transference of wealth. Right.
Exactly.
From generations.
Exactly.
So how do you like you said, you go into homes and you're talking to people, hey, you don't need to get life insurance. These are the different policies. This is what you could do with it. But remember, mom didn't know. Exactly. Dad didn't know. Uncle didn't know. Yeah. No one knew. And then comes this person who they don't know, telling them to go down this path. But I think what you've been able to successfully do is first embody it.
Right.
Be what you want to see.
Exactly.
Right? Because as you said earlier, you took something that was non-existent. You know, you came to this country as an immigrant from Jamaica and fastly was able to build a business, go back to school, be employable. Yes. And then, open JAH Financial Services and be, and then be a boss of your own. I love it. So ladies, if you're listening, there's a process, right? And I love how you explained your process. Sometimes we're ashamed of our processes. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, it's good to share our process. It's good to share how we overcame obstacles and challenges, because it's a bridge to someone else, right? And just listening to your story, it's so inspiring. And it's also equipping, because it says there's possibilities. Absolutely. And that's one of the things I think your brand stands for, right? Your JAH Financial Services brand is the ability.
That's what drives me. That's
is the possibility.
Is
so
the
tell
possibilities.
Us about that. What does JAH Financial Services and real estate stand for?
So the mission of this business that I set up is to empower entrepreneurs and small business owners how to properly get incorporated. First of all, to give them the hope that they can be incorporated. And this is what drives me, literally, to get up out of bed every morning and go on a mission. I'm not going to work. I am on a mission to create 1 million millionaires in my lifetime. Yes. And I know it's possible. I feel it in my blood that it's my divine mission to do this. And I feel like I'm starting from scratch to do it, and that's okay. Right. Because the angels are my posse. I'll take their business through the entire process of getting properly funded. I get them all the registrations they need. I get them the licenses they need. And I do this all in-house. Yeah. Right? I also show them how to set themselves up for retirement and how to transfer generational wealth. They don't teach us how to do that. Right. 37% of minorities own life insurance, and only 7% of that 30% understands generational wealth. The other 30% only have enough for burial. Wow. And so much more needs to be done to educate minorities how to properly protect themselves and their family, because we deserve it just like everybody else. 80% of other races have life insurance and they understand generational wealth. If you only have a $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 policy, you're only barely preparing for a burial. What is $10,000 going to do 20 years from now when your family needs it? Wow. So my desire and goal is to walk up into that funeral with a check instead of walking in there with flowers. So this is what propels me. I wanna see the smile on people's faces when I represent them. We do IRS representation because we do all sort of income tax consultations here. And when a person is crying because the IRS just told them they owed $30,000, and we can go and represent them and show them that these deductions are legitimate, and the IRS can shake our hands and the clients and said, yes, we've found, after reviewing, we found that these are legitimate expenses and you no longer owe us money. And we see the smile on those clients' faces. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning.
Wow. So you're an inspiration for sure. But then I think of what you guys do, and when I say you guys, yourself and your team, what you do at JAH Financial Services and real estate, you're not only inspirational, but you're transforming lives. Yes. It's generational. It's not just when you touch, a person or a family, it goes on beyond just that person. And then becomes generational, which is fantastic. And I wanted to talk about a little bit more statistics, because socioeconomic wealth gap is big for us at Men for Her. And that's simply why we exist. Is to help women achieve their dreams and realize that it is possible. So we share that in common. But one of the things I want to talk about is the statistics of, you talked about the life policy, life insurance, but let's talk about the statistics when it comes to entrepreneurship.
So 90% of all businesses are small business, but only 20% of that 90% are owned by minorities. And that's the reason why I bring minorities in, teach them how to start, create, and scale their business, teach them how to get funded, because we realize that, and statistics shows it, that 50% of all businesses fail within the first year, and of that 50% that makes it, 80% of that number fails within the next 5 years. Why do they fail? Most of them said it's for a lack of funding. We didn't have enough funding to do our daily operations, or we didn't have enough resources. And so we try to provide the resources, we try to provide the education, and set them up to be properly funded, because funding is very important to any small business. And so much more needs to be done to allow entrepreneurs, minority entrepreneurs, more than just 20% of us, to create our own businesses. They do not teach us how to create businesses in school, because they only teach us how to get a good job.
Right.
And so my mission is to teach us how to create your own business and create your own jobs and hire your own community.
Right. And I mean, that's a great point. And some may want to debate that. So I'll play devil's advocate a little. So some would say, well, Josette, it's not a minority thing, because most schools don't teach financial literacy, right? But this is where, when you think about the inequalities, right, the social economic wealth gap, even though most schools don't teach it, non-minorities get that handed down to them.
Exactly.
They've had the representation. They had a mother or a father,
their parents
or
teach
an
them,
uncle who
because
was in entrepreneurship,
exactly,
right? Who understands
absolutely,
financial literacy. So that's where those gaps really impact. Yes, the school systems don't teach it to all most of the time, but where the issue is there's no representation, there's no example, there's no transference of knowledge, right? Knowledge
Yes.
transfer is key.
Exactly.
And that's a big industry in itself, right?
Exactly.
Hence you have consultations, you have universities. It's all about knowledge transfer.
Yes.
But what's happening in our communities, in our demographics, with women, with girls and minorities, is that knowledge transfer isn't done.
Exactly.
So your organization definitely does a good job with that. So that leads me to my next question. Tell us a little bit about your role with SCORE and SBA.
Okay, so the SBA, when small businesses go to the SBA for funding, usually the SBA will take them through a process to make sure that they're set up to actually get funding, and so they'll send them to SCORE or other agencies to get trained. And I'm a mentor with SCORE. I'm also the treasurer for SCORE. And what we do is we'll take someone who is a small business owner and teach them how to go through the entire SBA registration process, help them create a business plan, help them create a financial plan, help them to create a business proposal to present it to the SBA to get funding. So that's my role at a SCORE organization.
So you don't just talk it, you're walking it, right?
Absolutely.
And we thank you for that, right? Because we need more resources like yourself out in the community that's actually helping the small businesses, the entrepreneurs. And also, this is really for people who want to become entrepreneurs, right? Because it's one thing to be an entrepreneur, but it's another to have a desire to want to be an entrepreneur. And
Absolutely.
you don't know where to start. So, we welcome that, definitely, and meant for her starting your business, but then the resources to get you over that hump of idea to execution. So that's kind of where I would say JAH Financial Services come into play.
Absolutely.
You help them with the execution, the business plans,
Right.
the funding, the resources. And one thing I want to ask you, so one of our flagship projects or programs, so one of our flagship programs at Meant for Her is called Her Dreams Take Flight. And today we're sitting down, we're talking to you about your dreams, how it's taken flight, how you've been able to, take something and manifest it into an organization that's well known for what they do today. So we believe your dreams have taken flight, Josette Hill. Can you tell us, when you hear that word, her dreams take flight, what comes to mind?
When I hear the word her dreams take flight, I think of go time. I feel like a lot of time we sit on the fence and we sit in getting ready mode. We're sitting in the aim mode, and I think it's time for fire.
Yes.
It's go time, and that's what I feel like is happening to my business and the people that I've touched lives in this business, and that's what I feel. I feel like it's go time. And I want to share this with you real quick. It's a real brief testimonial from one of my clients. One morning I was in bed early in the morning. It's got to be like 6:30 in the morning, and my phone rang, and I'm like, who could be calling me at 6:30? And then I say, you know what? Maybe it's important. Why nobody calls?
Urgent.
Nobody calls at 6:30 in the morning. So I rolled over, and I answered the phone. But when I looked at it, I noticed it was a client. But I answered. I'm like, oh, she need me. Why she's calling me at this time? So I answered, and I answered the phone with a little grog in my throat. I'm like, hello. She's like, well, Josette, I'm so sorry to wake you up. I'm so sorry to wake you up, but I just had to call you. And she was crying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened now? She's crying at 6:30 in the morning. What's going on? I'm like, so what happened? She said, I just woke up and I just felt like checking my account, and I checked my account and I got the money. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad that you got the money. She started bursting out in tears. And she started crying, and she's like, oh my gosh, Josette, you're the first person. I just had to call you to tell you that I got the money, and I don't know how to thank you anymore. You don't know how this is going to transition my life. This will change my life forever. Not just my life, but all the women that I'm going to be able to serve with this money, because she's a nonprofit who's gotten some money through a grant that I helped her to get, and it's going to change women's life forever. Wow. And that just touched my spirit. And so that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about touching the lives of women all over the nation, all over the globe. When you touch one life, you don't just touch one life.
Yes,
you touch a lot of lives. Yes. Because when you change one life, that one life is changing a lot more life. Right? And then you are able to transfer your knowledge to someone that will change their life forever. Their children, their generation on top of generation will always benefit from that one good thing that you did. Correct. And that's what made my business so important. It's different. It's like no other financial services that I've ever seen. I've never seen a financial services that have done all the type of work that I've done in my business. My business even do non-legal immigration services. We help people who came here just like me with immigration services, so that they can't afford to go pay lawyers thousands of dollars to do the work that I could do. So they come here, and I help them with that. I help them with legal documents. I help them with filing their contracts, the contracts for lease and purchases, their quitclaim deeds, all the documents that they would have to pay hundreds of dollars for. They will come into my organization, and we do that right here for them. We even do credit repair, and we build business credit. A lot of people does not understand what a paydex score is, but we understand it here, and we transfer that knowledge to business owners, right, so that they don't have to be in that 50% statistics of businesses that fail within the first year, because they understand nothing about how important their paydex score is, right, in building their business. So we take a business from startup to earning big 6 and 7 figure and scaling their business in the first year.
Wow.
And that's what we do here.
So JAH Financial Services is a dream come true, not just for you, and I said it earlier, but it's a dream come true for so many who just feel like there's no hope out there. Getting the information is difficult, or no one cares and no one wants to help them. So thank you so much for that. And what is your vision for the future?
My vision is to pop up shop in all 52 states of the United States, because there are girls all over the United States who have a dream, who have a vision, and does not understand how to make it take off. And that's what we're here to do. We want to go all over the place and show people how to start and scale and properly form their business, how to properly set up themselves with life insurance and retirement, how to create generational wealth all over the globe, because we want our generation and the ones after that and the ones after that to born into what we weren't born into. So I want to teach this all across the globe for other women to start from zero and take themselves as high as they want to fly.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. To recap that, you have questions about scaling. You first have to be an organization, a company, an individual that provides value. So that's what you guys have been able to do at your company, and just to see the growth and the development, it's been amazing. So thank you for having us at Meant for Her. We really enjoyed talking to you today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I can't wait to talk to a lot more young entrepreneurs, teaching them how to scale their business, teaching them how to get properly protected, teaching them how to set themselves up for retirement, because we're not going to work forever, and teaching them how to leave a legacy for their children and grandchildren. It's been a pleasure talking with you today.
So when we say register for Her Dreams Take Flight, you better contact us, because guess who's going to be there? Josette Hill. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
I became the sales queen.